And welcome back to F1 Manager at the very end of December 2026. And it does mean this will be the last time we see Mick Schumacher's lovely face there. Drink it in, folks, because I'm going to zoom through December. I don't think there's anything necessary to do in December. I've decided against really bothering with the money situation. Technically, we're at half a season's worth of prize money from last season, but we're doing all right financially. I'll leave it as is. I don't want to make it too easy for myself now that money's actually coming in through other means. It's a strange balance, really, isn't it, when you think about it? That you have to manually give yourself the prize money because it doesn't give you it in the early seasons, to the degree where it actually properly cripples you in the early seasons if you don't do it, to now you've got all your marketing stuff up to it being too much money, arguably, if you do then give it to yourself. The money needs a lot of balancing. Also, on the money front, I do need to address one thing. I joked last episode that I was going to have to leave 20 odd million in the bank just in case Frontier didn't actually fix. We're going to change it from upfront payment to monthly payments on the engine thing. I joked that Frontier haven't necessarily been great at actually fixing the things they said they fixed. A new bug fix just came through where one of the points was actually making that actually changing that. Yeah, not helping the reputation there, Frontier, when you actually do the thing that I joke that you might be doing, have to do. So in theory, now it should actually be fine. But they said they said they've changed it once and they hadn't. So let's just hold our horses that one and keep money in the bank just in case. We get research in on the day before. We'll do all the driver stuff. Everything will be fine. I'll see you at season changeover. So the last bits of research are in, and if I just click through, we should get all of our end of season stuff coming in. Somehow we failed the last sponsor engagement. I don't know how that's happened. Title sponsor disappointed for getting us 19 million's worth of engagement out of 10.5. Sure. Mick, 208 points. I fixed the colours, by the way. Maloney, 338 points. Although the badge is reverted again. For the love of God, can we fix this? Sorry, our team rating is now 4 stars, is it? Our final position is second. Long-term objective of this season was score points in 50% of this season's races, which we ended up doing in all of them because they're only 23. My principal rating has gone up to 850. The constructors rating for us has gone up to 601. Drivers to 33. Heritage still 1. Team rating overall 638. That's up a fair bit. A lot of this might be behind my head. I do apologise if that's the case. And we still get 1.5 million because the board like us. It's such a strange thing. I never understood that one. Why is that so low? So the good news is for us, next season is we get more wind tunnel hours than we would have last year, but the rear of the grid get less, so it's going to be harder for them to actually make up ground, which is annoying for a long-term save. Same situation with CFD hours. The good news is, prize money-wise, they get more now and we get less. Not by much, really. I don't think it really makes any difference whatsoever. In terms of long-term differences, it's literally 0.4%. The best increase is 0.5 and the worst decrease is 0.5. It's nothing really in the grand scheme of things. And there was changes to cooling as well. That was the predominant. Oh, thank God. The Constructors' Championship target is second again. And the long term is win the Constructors. That's nice. I have 2 years to do it. But we will go on driver changes. I'll try not to look at things, but we don't have sponsors on that anymore. So our bare old logos. I'm already principal for this team. Has Lando got the wrong number? Yeah, so that badge is still the wrong colour, but is that Zay's number or is that meant to be Lando's number? Because that's wrong if it's Lando's. But still, we'll go from front to back. I'm trying to think who might have been out of contract and who might retire. Hamilton, of course, had a horrendous season despite actually being the same rating as George Russell. Hamilton ended up with 0 points. I should have really gone through the championship again before we would click through this. But oh God, hello, Lando. Yeah, Lando's got the wrong number because I can see Zane's there, still 50. I'll change that. Okay, let's start from front to back. Paceless driver is concerning at Red Bull, because that was Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll. Also is the lead driver, which means Carlos Sainz is gone. No, Carlos Sainz is still there, it's Lance Stroll that's gone. It's Antonelli, that makes a lot of sense. I should clarify, of course, just in case you didn't see it in the F2 results. Firstly, Antonelli is 86 rated. Secondly, he is a Red Bull reserve driver at this point of the save. Red Bull poached him early on as an affiliate. So he's just been straight up promoted to the main seat, which makes a lot of sense when he's replacing Lance Stroll. Which means Lance Stroll has appeared and then disappeared from Red Bull in the space of a year. We were second. We know our drivers, Lando and Zane. Actually, that's a valid point. What rating was Carlos Sainz? Was he about 88 as well? So their drivers are 86 and 88 maybe rated. I can't remember what Carlos Sainz is rated at. Our drivers are 89 and 86 rated. because that's where Zayn ended up, was 86, and Lando dipped back down under his 90 thanks to his sabbatical. So it's very even driver-wise between us two. And that is one of the two hatted. That's Liam Lawson finally in an F1 seat at McLaren, which was Oscar Piastri and Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo is one of the people on the chopping block. That was the one I was trying to remember. I knew that was the second one who was in big danger, I'd imagine, because he dipped to 79 rated by the end of this season and was performing woefully. I'll be honest, Lawson isn't much better rated because he hasn't had an F1 seat yet. So I don't know if he's actually developed beyond 80. Still, it'd be a great second driver for McLaren. Did end up finishing third as a result of Oscar Piastri being the only person to really get points. Drivers' champion, let's not forget, is Oscar. Lewis finally makes his way to Ferrari. What is he doing? What is Lewis doing? Hang on, that's Charles' spot. Why's he got... That's Lewis and Max on the same team. So Charles is missing now. Has Charles gone to Mercedes, who finished 9th in the end? Lewis and Max on the same team. It is worth noting, actually, in the Constructors, RB ended up finishing a very respectable 5th. Yuki Tsunoda remains the strangely powerful Yuki Tsunoda in-game. I still don't know why he's so good. Is Albon still his teammate? Because he had some rough performances in the second half. It is still Albon. Haas, still Teo Pourchaire, who is probably about 86 rated as well now. The other hatted driver was Pourchaire. He was already in the sport, so Lawson... Okay. I guess Hulkenberg may have retired. He probably did age out. Maybe at the end of this season. But that's Charles Leclerc and a Haas. Ferrari injured still, but dare say that's a backward step. Valtteri Bottas is still driving and he's in the Aston Martin. Admittedly, he's the better of their two drivers. Is it still Drugovich? Or have they finally given up on him? Nope, still Drugovich. Still Logan Sargent in the Audi with Gasly. I mean, I appreciate Gasly's loyalty, but maybe the Audi will kick on. Ninth place Mercedes still has George Russell, of course. I say of course, but he had a 4-year contract. I'm not expecting him to move. So who's replaced Hamilton here? Faceless driver. It's Frederick Vesti who makes the step up from the Alpine, wasn't it? Because Williams was Magnussen and Fittipaldi. So I think Alpine was Hauger and Vesti last year, wasn't it? So he's moved up one place, effectively. What a time to join Mercedes. So Vesti's gone... It was Dennis Hauger that was in the Ferrari before, wasn't it? So let's see if Dennis Hauger is still in the Alpine. I was about to say Vesti's gone from Ferrari to Alpine to Mercedes in 3 years, but I think he may have joined straight in at Alpine. Alpine, start with a faceless driver. That could still be Dennis Hauger. I don't know if he was car 1 or car 2. They will have to replace Frederick Vesti, though, of course. Welcome back, Sergio. So either Lance Stroll's disappeared entirely again, or he's at Williams, which means one of the Williams drivers has to have moved. We'll check the faceless driver, of course, just in case it isn't Dennis Hauger. Like I said, I can't remember which one he was in originally. Oh, it's Fittipaldi. What? So Vesti gets promoted up 1 to Mercedes from Alpine, and then Fittipaldi gets promoted up 1 from Williams to Alpine. Oh, Gary's there. He might actually be Sergio's race engineer. Meanwhile, Williams still has Magnussen, and I would presume the second driver to be faceless, but mind you, it can't be Fittipaldi now, so is it Lance Stroll? No, it is a faceless driver. That's Dennis Hauger. Right, so Hauger and Fittipaldi have swapped for some inexplicable reason. I forgot about Hauger and all this as well. So Hauger's gone backwards 1. So no Lance Stroll, no Mick, of course. I was kind of hoping he would end up in a spot, but you know what would be really nice, actually? If Mick Schumacher gets called up to Ferrari when Hamilton hopefully retires this year. That would be nice. I do want him to get a seat. So Ricciardo's gone. That's not surprising. So just trying to think who has actually gone here. Lance Stroll... Daniel Ricciardo may have retired, but at the very least he'd regressed to a point where he wasn't really viable anymore, apparently. Alonso had already gone, because we've added Lawson and Antonelli and Norris, so we've lost 3. So we've lost Stroll, Schumacher and Ricciardo. We've only lost 3 drivers. That makes sense. Okay, we're not missing anyone. Nope, don't go to Williams. That was nearly a mistake. Let's continue with us. We are not predicted 9th. 2nd or above, Constructors Champion long term. So in theory, we should get 8.1 million per month from the board. We should get 5.1 from prize money. Interestingly, I don't know if it's actually automatically patched before I've gone into the game here. So good job I did leave that money in. Or maybe they just announced the patch. Maybe it's not actually been pushed through yet. So good job I did leave that money after all, wasn't it? I actually prefer it this way. I prefer it this way, but I would prefer to pay it upfront after we've had the sponsorship money in. You know, the way it should be. I don't think we've really fended off 2027 changes too well here, but at least it's engine cooling. That's the one that's taken the big dent. We've actually gained things and things that aren't being reduced. Tyre preservation is the other big dent, and suspension-wise, that's the big drop. But so in theory, we should get a share of 71 million, which is the 5.1 a month. guess that 0.1 adds up to 11. I don't think that adds up, actually. 5.1. Nothing changes. We just ended up getting fractionally more hours than we would have done last year. So, oh, you actually get the price tags on them now. I'm so confused. I thought the engine was part of the car part development nonsense that plunges you into debt. I thought that was the reason why you ended up in debt, because that was 20 million of that. Is this still broken, by the way? Yeah, it does still say minus 75. It isn't minus 75. Obviously, otherwise they'd be never changing an engine ever. they'd be generating engines at Honda over the course of a season. So whilst it says Renault, it is Audi, and there is a fifth engine in the back through alternate means that splits the gap between 75 fuel efficiency and 100. Otherwise, that would be insane. The new actual Honda engine, which is what Aston Martin run, is the one that splits the difference in some of these large gaps you may see between providers. Because Red Bull is Red Bull Ford now, as of 2026. So Honda is by itself, and Renault is Audi. So we'll stick with them, of course. In terms of durability, I think Mercedes might still be the best one, just because they have that fractionally better ERS, and we were just on the borderline ERS, and we're just on the borderline engine-wise as well. So 70, 65, 65 is probably actually bang on what you need to get through a season without having to change anything, provided you don't crash all the time, Lewis. But the fuel efficiency is appalling in comparison, but it is better power. But we'll stick with Renault. Actually, out of curiosity, what was the highest Mercedes engine? 9th. Because the only other person who's using one is Williams. Because McLaren have changed, I think. McLaren must have changed their engine provider, because they should be on the Mercedes engine, obviously, at the start of the game. I'll have to check what their engine provider is when I change the calendar. So I'll see once I've changed all the calendar around, and then we'll get through developing parts at that point. Welcome to the 2027 calendar, where I have decided to avoid having the situation of having Saturday races by putting all of them at the end, as probably they should be. Considering that Australia is going to usurp Bahrain in real life as the first race of the season, the kind of point of having it at the beginning of the season was that it was the season opener. They paid for that position, I think, was kind of the idea there. If it's no longer going to be the first race of the season because of trying to make things more environmentally friendly in terms of moving things around the world more efficiently, then I might as well just put them all at the end of the season, including Jeddah. And hopefully it'll work this time, because I haven't changed the weekends. I've done it with the editor that just rearranges the weekends, so they should all be in the weekends they should have races in, or already have races in, I should say. They've just rearranged them, so hopefully it won't confuse the game, and I'm hoping that's going to help Bahrain actually work this year. I don't know what the problem was. I still don't know. We're going to stick with the Melbourne, Suzuka, China system at the start. We'll have Imola 4th, Miami 5th, Montreal. We'll go from USA to Canada briefly, and then back to Monaco, Barcelona, Spielberg. I put Budapest a lot earlier because it's always boiling when they end up going to Hungary eventually anyway, so I figured maybe put it a little bit earlier. It might be a little bit cooler. Great Britain, Belgium. I think Holland ends up being, or Monza actually ends up being the last race before the summer break now, because of the 2 Middle Eastern races going to the end of the year, which means Baku is now the season returner, where Dennis Hauger holds the lap record, bizarrely. The only sprint that remains a sprint is Brazil, because it's always insane that weekend. We're going to keep Bahrain a sprint weekend. We're going to, if it works, we'll, allow them to have one there. We're doing sprints at Monza, Belgium, and Canada. Well, I suppose that makes my life easier if I take the Audi sponsorship, even though it's probably the lowest. Yeah, it is the lowest. That being said, as much as I would love upfront payment, which just gives us a lot of, race day performances might work now in terms of objectives. I might not just have to beat 18th, and I might not be able to game that particular system. That's actually probably why I've ended up with an insane amount of money last year, was because I was able to game that system, which I might not be able to do this year. So I might actually have to give myself the prize money this year if it's still not working. With no mandatory, I'll just try and get ones that don't require mandatory activities or minimal mandatory activities, and then we'll fill it up with ones that do have mandatory activities but give us more upfront. So that's the best way to sort that out. That's 91 million over the course of the season. It's not a lot now. Our colours are now accurate, at least. So here are then the 2027 driver lineup. Suits. I'm not fond of that bit there. I might fix that at some point. I'm just not fond of that sponsor, but we've ended up going with it, so we'll stick it on the car. It feels a bit weird, maybe. I might swap that with the Fanatec at some stage as well, just because I don't want the Audi thing too big, so I might swap those two over. And I might just make that one go in line as well. Ooh, the car to begin with isn't great, so maybe we'll end up getting the season performance thing. We should just have the scroll through of the official roster once again. Actually, Carlos Sainz is only 86 rated. I didn't know he was that low down. So as a combination, Ferrari have the best with Lewis and Max, 88 and 92. Although Haas with Teo and Charles is not far off. Williams have the worst car and the worst driver line. F2, let's see if anyone snuck in to F2. I'm hoping somebody does. Artem Tramnitz at MP Motorsport. Boganovic and Carpentier remain at Dams. Colapinto still 72 rated, but intriguingly, no Kushmani, as far as I can tell. He was at Trident, wasn't he? Where's Trident? Okay, so Pulling remains in F3. I was kind of hoping might be able to sneak up a division, but alas. Barnard remains at MP Motorsport there. And Bianca's finally in F3 as well at Campos. So we have had progress there. Pobletti actually hasn't really improved all that much. He's still 61 rated. Our original affiliate driver there. But Maya getting a drive too. Can't remember if she was there before. Hugh's 91. That wasn't the question. Hugh is 91. And of course, we've gone back to having the left-hand driver pairing on low efficiency. What's the word? Oh, because of this new development focus thing. You can no longer just have all of the options for trainings. Oh, I don't like that. Why is that not a separate tab? Because now you have to click through them, which is way less efficient. That's what I want, though, because I want him to get adaptability and accuracy. I'll do it on one that gives him cornering and braking as well. Something really weird has happened in the 2 months that we've developed so far. Now, just looking at the car performance, we've moved up overall 1 place, which is unusual. I don't know what Frontier have changed. Normally, you get a big jump at the start of the season because you can, you optimize your parts quite dramatically to give yourself some. That is, to be fair, that is there. That optimization, DRS miles first with the rear wing, tire preservation miles above the average, but not first with suspension. That's the thing you do for that. They're the 2 things that we pumped our resource hours into, was tire preservation and DRS effectiveness. Because obviously tire preservation is a big thing that really helps you get a race result over the course of a race. Not really helpful in qualifying or anything like that, of course, but it helps you maintain your tires better, which means obviously you maintain your pace better, even if you're not great in other areas. Notably, the other speeds. We prioritize high speed with an underfloor, which we emergency manufactured to make sure it was on the car for this race, because we were miles behind without it. That's what the car looks like without the underfloor. So whilst we moved up 1 place, that's entirely because I've had to emergency manufacture a part just to keep us competitive. Otherwise, we're going to be in a lot of trouble in qualifying specifically, because we are nowhere in anything, speed-wise, cornering-wise. DRS here, of course, there are 4 DRS zones that might have actually brought us back in qualifying-wise, but that's back with the underfloor again. It just keeps us in touching distance with the low speed, medium speed, and it brings us above in high speed, thankfully. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what Frontier's changed between this year and last year, because last year we built a few parts and we were miles above the field. That's what really catapulted us into 2nd/3rd potential. First at the beginning of the year, and then obviously all the other teams caught over the course of the year. This year they've started insanely strongly, and I don't know what's happening. I might have to look into it and do a lot more research onto this, but I just don't have the time right now. So I've panicked, emergency bought 2 underfloors just to make sure we are fighting in this particular first race. And these do seem to be reflective of that. Of course, with the specific attributes for Australia, DRS, high speed, we are reflected quite well there in 7th opposed to our overall 15th. So we should perform well and we should beat our objectives. Time to find what our drivers have got. Oh my god, I forgot we were 2nd in the pit lane. I also forgot to change Lando's number. I'll make it 4 for the next one. So weird having to go so far down the pit lane. Just a reminder, whilst we might be okay here because we have a car with attributes that are good for Australia once again, like we did last year, our car isn't good overall. We get the benefit of DRS in 4 locations here if we get a clean lap in. I think a lot of people are getting hindered here. There's a lot of... I mean, we were predicted 7th here. Why are we 1 and 2? We weren't great in practice, I should say, as well. I think we've got enough to get through Q1 here. I think we're well above for Q1. What on earth has Antonelli done there? And Hamilton continues his useless era. You don't forget Antonelli's the same rating as Carlos Sainz, so that is, yeah. The Haas is 3 and 4. That might be an early warning sign. That Haas might be in the picture. We'll find out, of course, as qualifying continues, but that does make me concerned. I'm going to have to be paying attention to them more often rather than just Porsche. Yeah, much more in the pack. I don't know who else has done lap times with used tyres, but much more in the pack in Q2. A lot of teams stepping things up there, it seems. Let's try and work out positions right now. Piastri on a flyer already? No, that's an in lap for Piastri. Verstappen out lap. So Verstappen's the first one on an out lap there. Tsunoda says flying lap. Oh yeah, that does look like it. So Verstappen's the one you've got to beat out, really, if you want to get a clean lap in. But I'm going to have to go now, I think. And we do beat Verstappen out, but we don't beat him by much, unfortunately. I think he's already on Maloney, which might ruin his lap, in fairness, but he doesn't need it. So Max should get out of the way straight away there, which does help. Not a big fan of the rear wing, actually, in this design of car. I tried to mix up the template. The fact that Tsunoda's put in a time just under 0.3 off Piastri makes me worried about the track evolution. Leclerc's second in the Haas, Pourchaire's 15th. So I think there's definitely a lot of legitimate reasons to be trying here. And we just caught a bunch of people. Oh no, we've caught a bunch of people who were warming up for their flying lap. They've gone real late. Oh, I'm slightly concerned we're actually going to get messed up on that. Although it's more so Norris that's caught them than Zayn. Zayn's only had to get past that one Red Bull, who might not even make the finish line. In fact, actually, Norris does improve, and he actually gets to the line before the checker flag. Zayn takes it and goes provisional pole, or Q2 pole, I should say. And so Sainz doesn't make the line in time, so therefore he's 8th at best here. With Pourchaire and Albon, no, realistically, it's just Pourchaire, maybe Bottas. I don't know how good oh, mind you, Drogovic is ahead of Bottas right now, so I would expect Bottas to improve. Wilson goes 4th, that doesn't do anything for Sainz. Bottas doesn't improve, in fact, he's already done. Pourchaire, you have to be on a flying lap. What has Pourchaire done? He's got massively hindered somewhere. So Sainz survives then, essentially. Looks like it's real tight. Slightly weird that I did consider Leclerc as a potential target to acquire over Mick. Ultimately, it was Lando's unemployment that obviously swayed that particular decision, but interesting that Leclerc actually did make a move. And probably right to, considering Verstappen's behind him. It's very tight between our drivers, despite their 3-point overall gap. Maloney's mentality might be factoring into that, though, because he has a much better mentality right now because of his engineer and the fact he's not being used for sponsorship purposes. I'm not using it for sponsorship purposes on the development plan. He's just being used in a sponsorship agreement. All right, so 3 minutes on the clock. What are these drivers doing here? Gasly, Sainz and Lawson are all on out laps. Oh, that's Lawson there. Djokovic is on a flying lap, so he's just out of sync anyway, as is Verstappen. I think we're going to get stuck no matter what here, because if we wait for Sainz to get round to about there to send our driver out, we're still 1 minute 14 over. We're still a minute 20 really, over a full lap. I think no matter what happens, we're going to get a driver in the way, because we either cross the line with a full lap to go, essentially, or we try and time it so we catch Sainz early on. Brand new tyres. Thinking about it, I maybe should move that particular Audi logo as well, because that possibly is a bit confusing. As I just try and find the right point to send our drivers going. I did send them pushing with their tyres a smidge later than I have done on previous laps, as Sainz takes provisional pole with that particular lap. Didn't realise how competitive the original laps were for our drivers. Tsunoda's 3rd. Still on an lap though, behind. So the Audi here might have been a blinky moment of going, oh, just avoid that. But I don't think he lifted off. It didn't sound like he lifted off, so he might have got away with that one. Come on, Lando. You are behind as things stand. It has been a bit to and fro between our two drivers across the qualifying session so far, which is nice to see, really, despite the fact that Lando is better. I really hope he can put the pedal to the floor here. Verstappen guaranteed best 6th, Djokovic best 9th. Leclerc needs to put in a good lap. He's been competitive in the previous sessions. He's on a flyer now, though. He's behind Tsunoda, actually, so we'll get a good old draft off him. They do have to get past Gasly, though. Well done to the Audi, by the way. Once again, seen really competitive in the first race of the season. I like we've caught the McLaren slightly. I haven't actually looked at the sector times. Piastri does not improve. Norris does not improve. Maloney does not improve. They're brand new tyres. And Leclerc ended up inside of Tsunoda because they got stuck on Gasly. So Leclerc might improve here, but Tsunoda definitely won't. Yeah, Leclerc only improves to 9th. They both got hindered there. Oh, I just realised I didn't change any liveries, but sure. We'll have a look into that for the next one. I mean, if a car predicted 7th, it's not bad to start 2nd and 5th. Both drivers have 100 smoothness with their mentality, by the way. So I don't see why I'd put the driver behind on the softer tyre first. We'll set them up like that then, I think. Christ, you can take a lot of laps out of fuel. You can take 14 laps worth of fuel out of here. I know it's incident prone, but even I mean, I'm sticking to my 50% of the maximum you can take out rule, but let's get going. Welcome, Lando. Let's convert that second into a podium Zayn.
Welcome back, everyone. The final preparations are now being made as we head into the race. A short moment of time to themselves to focus on the race ahead.
They're in 2nd place on the grid, but that could so easily change in the first few seconds after lights out.
But there's no more time left. We've got a race on our hands. brace yourselves for the Australian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Off we go indeed, see if we can get Zayn past Sainz immediately. No, it actually looks more likely Tsunoda will get Zayn, if I'm honest, going into turn one. He doesn't, I don't think. No. Norris has dropped a place, but don't forget he is on medium tyres, and he has been overtaken by a soft-running Verstappen. So that's not wholly unsurprising. Just trying to see if there's any general trends right now. Antonelli has taken Porsche, who must have started poorly because he qualified 16th. So either he had a 3-place penalty already somehow, or he just had a terrible start. Of course, this could be very track dependent because after, let's not forget, we're massively above our overall average here for our specific track. Any potential trends we can identify here amongst the teams? It does look like Williams are still towards the back. It does look like McLaren are still amongst the front. It looks like Aston Martin are still in upper middle overall. Sargent and Gasly again, seemingly both in that middle area. RB, 3rd and 11th right now. Maybe upper middle as well. They did finish 5th last year, so it looks like they might still be about there as an average, perhaps. Porsche, we know, is better than where he qualified, and Leclerc is better than where he qualified as well. They had much more competitive laps in Q1 and Q2, so I don't really know. I don't think we're obviously not the 4th best team overall, or even the 2nd best team overall, as it may suggest. Actually, we have the best average here, but Antonelli definitely didn't qualify where he should have, so I think it's still between Red Bull and McLaren at the front. I think we've taken a step back, as we always tend to do, because we never get enough research done. I mean, in previous years, we've deliberately not done enough research because we knew the AI don't do research. But apparently, Frontier fixed that. And that might actually be panning out now. Thank you, Hugh, for the useful commentary of the race is on. Really, Hugh, I hadn't noticed. We're looking at the wrong driver here because... Oh, he's done it after the DRS zone. I mean, that's not the best... Oh, no, that is... Sorry, no, that is the DRS zone corner. I thought it was that one. I was one corner ahead. It's not the best racecraft, though, because it does mean Sainz will have the double DRS on this pair here. A lot of fastest laps being popped in there. Probably ought to switch over to Maloney just to watch the inevitable re-overtake from Sainz here. Although he is not... Oh, no, he has made it. I say he is making it a bit awkward to do. Claire's already up to 7th from qualifying 9th, so yeah, certainly more in that Haas than where he ended up qualifying. In fact, he's actually taken Lawson in the soft-running McLaren, so there's definitely something in that Haas there. Because if the McLaren was a better car, it's on a better tyre. It is a worse driver, of course, but... Hang on. Oh, sorry, no, the Leclerc's not as soft as well. But still, he's a better driver, so if the car was worse, they'd probably work out fairly evenly. So it looks like Maloney and Sainz will swap over continuously. In fact, he might have actually overtaken him. I should have maybe had a look at that. He may have actually overtaken him on the first DRS zone, which is a rarity, actually. So it looks like he's powered away in the second DRS zone. Super clear. Tsunoda's going to come for Sainz now. Yeah, it does the fastest lap by a margin, I guess. 1:22.1. Norris probably could just start conserving fuel now, because he's got a gap to Leclerc behind. He doesn't seem to be making inroads on Verstappen and Piastri, even though we have a really good DRS here. And obviously this is 4 DRS zones, so should really be making the most of that first in the field DRS. But he's just on a worse tyre, stuck in a train. Stuck in a train where he could probably actually come off tyres and maybe go like more aggressive on them later on. If we just maybe manage Lando's pace while he's stuck in this set of 6, as Tsunoda catches and passes in the end. So he's down to 5th now just because he got out of sync with the DRS overtake that we made. So he ended up DRS-less in not a great place to be DRS-less. So yeah, I think if Maloney makes a pass in the first DRS zone, which he hasn't this time, he then just powers past in the second one. Doesn't make that stick. Actually, Sainz got a problem because he's dropped right off when he gets Tsunoda back. At the point in which there's the longest gap between DRS zones as well. So this could be really good for him to get well clear of Tsunoda, potentially. Norris, no matter what he does, cannot get back into DRS range, which is a bit of annoyance. Might just have to let Sainz through so we can get called back in again, which has now happened. Yeah, we'd have to make sure we go aggressive on this fuel recovery now, I think. Because even I'm not confident in recovering 7 laps worth of fuel long term here. I think as long as we're in this train with Norris, there's no real point pushing these mediums. I know we can get an undercut. Although there might have been a break with Verstappen, which Norris can now exploit with DRS. In theory, somehow without DRS, Verstappen's gone faster there. Yeah, I noticed that. Lando. You know what I might do? I might actually bring in Maloney early because Verstappen's come in early. Whereas I think Norris can maybe go around twice. So crucial to get Maloney back out ahead of Verstappen there. Just doesn't get up to speed at all. Arguably probably better to actually... The Lando pace comes out of 2 seconds behind. I'm not surprised by that. Antonelli, I don't think, hasn't I don't think he's pitted yet. Still on softs, but he hasn't pitted. He's the only one who hasn't. So we've got clear of Tsunoda at least. I say clear. Antonelli's holding him up. Maybe just come off fuel recovery there. Get these tyres up to temperature, please. Can we not fight Antonelli? That would be superb, mate. He's obviously coming in the pits this lap. Porsche does fastest lap. Gasly does fastest lap from 18th. Okay, that's interesting. Back to recovery. As Zane gets Max, who obviously did pass him there, into turn... don't know what that counts as. 2? Turn 2, I think. Surely. Oh no, I suppose that'd be turn 3, wouldn't it? Because you have the right, then the left. So Norris will fight with Tsunoda here, who's on a hard tyre. I was about to say 14 seconds off the lead somehow, but they haven't pitted Piastri and Sainz. Now they have, and Sainz comes out with Norris, despite going long. Giving up, pushing now as well, which means it's now Sainz versus Norris. Piastri persists, now pits, comes out 6th. Are they trying one stop? Sainz and Piastri might be trying one stop. Curious. I'm going to take both of their fuels to -2 and then just revisit the situation with like 15 laps to go. Piastri and Sainz both come through the field on those new hards as we miss Maloney's optimal pit stop. Decent pit, not a good one. Actually, 2.3 is pretty good. So for the second round of pit stops, Verstappen's come out on a hard tyre to end the race with, which is odd. But Maloney comes out a few seconds behind him because I missed my pit stop by a lap. But it's Norris versus Tsunoda again. Tsunoda's definitely burning those. Norris goes around the outside of Tsunoda, which is really going to help the overall confidence here, I think. I leave nothing on these tyres. In he comes. Off he goes. 2.0. We are capable of a really good pit stop then. I did wonder if we'd regress there as well to kind of an average of 2.3. But nope, we are still good. Good enough to pull out a 2 flat, really. Almost. Lawson's having a nightmare. What's happened with Lawson? It's showing minor damage on Lawson. Has pitted twice. We're the only... Verstappen and R2 drivers are the only ones to have pitted twice already from the front set. I think Norris has the overall race on Zane here. He's only 1.6 behind and he's on the better tyre now. As we look at someone who isn't McLaren, we'll return to the driver who used to be in a McLaren. So Norris should in theory get fastest lap here. Tsunoda probably might go on a soft as well. Is Sainz making the end on those hards? Piastri is. Nope, Sainz pits again. A virtual safety car. I've clicked on Verstappen. I can't see Verstappen. I'll watch Verstappen. Strange for him to have the moment, but what's he done here? Straight on. All right, Max. Only a VSC. Strange you feel he hasn't retired. Oh, he has retired. Maybe we can watch it again this time from an angle that'll actually show us what he's done. Oh, beached himself, I think, more than anything. That probably ought to be more than a VSC just because he's in the runoff of a corner. But I suppose if you're taking the corner at a lower speed, you probably wouldn't be attacking it at that kind of angle. There's a big old gap back to Bottas. Not only doesn't have another soft is the only issue, so it's just more, just give ourselves an extra couple. Oh, Tsunoda gets the benefit of a VSC pit stop. Oh, you monster game. He still ends up behind our drivers, so he would have been well behind if it wasn't for that. Right, so we'll attack for a lap on the outbound. Make sure Tsunoda gets nowhere near. It's 3rd and 4th as things stand. We are 30 seconds off the lead. Oh dear. Right, Piastri home race. Once again, quite dominant. I will say this though. The middle of the field right now, from Antonelli downwards, you may need to pit again, in fairness, Antonelli and Hamilton. That is a lot of drivers in close proximity. If I go on board with Porsche, we're 46 laps into this race. That's a lot of laps for this many drivers to be running together. There's a huge gap to Bottas, and then there's 2 drivers who I think need to pit again. 3 drivers who need to pit again, in fact. And then there's a huge wad of drivers from Antonelli to Vesti. From 7th to 16th, there's 4 people in there they need to pit. But what's that, 9 drivers? 10 inclusive? 9 drivers. Ah, right, okay. Do this outside of DRS zone. Let Lando drag you along. Final lap, Sainz actually caught and passed Piastri, which could well be going to a final lap DRS shootout. No, he's outside of a second now. But speaking of DRS, Maloney... Oh, I thought Maloney's about to go around the outside of Norris. I took off their don't fight. Right, so let's see if we can get Norris past first. Norris, to do an overtake, you need to go outside of the driver in front of you. Lando. So our drivers ended up fighting each other instead of Lando. So Norris ends up just squeaking it from Maloney. Neither of them ended up going past Tsunoda, who was in front of him. Leclerc ends up 6th, still 34 seconds off the pace, but Leclerc ends up 6th. Bottas actually needed to pit again, seemingly. So he's ended up 15th. Shocker from Ferrari. I mean, admittedly, Verstappen's out, but Hamilton's 16th. Antonelli only recovers to 13th with a fault of some description. What kind of damage has he got? Can we tell? Must have run over a curb. Porsche gets himself up to 10th. The Haas does have power, it seems. Because whilst Antonelli couldn't get himself into the points, Porsche does. Is the Haas better than the... No, it can't be, because Leclerc's 34 seconds off. Well, he's not actually 34 seconds off. He's 52 seconds off the lead. Why has Antonelli struggled? In fact, Bottas got past him, I think, at the very end there. So why has Antonelli struggled where Porsche hasn't? And Lawson struggled as well. Let's not be honest. Let's be completely frank. A good solid chunk of points to get us going. He is fourth, so there's no podium. Getting a good chunk of points in a race where we are predicted to do well, comparatively, whilst our car is comparatively bad. And all the others have just gone insane with their development in the meantime. But because we get 2 drivers right there, that does mean we do get 22 points. Red Bull win the race and get the fastest lap, so they get 26. McLaren end up with 20 by virtue of Oscar Piastri's 18 and Lawson's 2. So that brings about 15 points. Haas bring in 9. Mercedes get 6 points, which is about a quarter of what they got last year. And Alpine 4. Who was that actually for Mercedes? Aston Martin, Ferrari, Williams and Audi. Audi last of all. Sorry, what happened with Audi in the end? Sargent lapped, Pierre 19. What on earth happened to Audi? Lando actually had an even faster pit stop originally, 2.0009. We actually start the season with a 1.9. Oh god. Oh yes, they both have 5th or higher, so we don't really get any prize money anymore. But a new ATR period will allow us to develop the remaining car parts. And just to be clear, by the way, just for us to sort of remain on pace with all the other cars, even though we've specialised our overall performance here. We've done chassis, rear wing, emergency manufactured the underfloor, and suspension. The other 3 were just manufactured normally. We've had to put 4 car parts on our car just to stay competitive, which is more than we normally have to. So I don't know what they've changed in the back. So obviously we'll do a front wing and obviously we'll deal with side pods for the next ATR period, but I'm really hoping the AI slow down their pace because this is going to be a problem otherwise. Welcome, Lando. Welcome to a challenge. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, do like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, I will, next time out, probably maybe start simulating races, perhaps. The issue is Lando Norris hasn't won a race yet. Zane has. So the team has won a race, but Lando hasn't. We'll see how... I'll decide what I want to do on that front. All the sprint races I'm definitely going to bring you. But the first one of those isn't till Canada. Still 4 races to deal with. So we'll probably do a maximum of 3 races per episode. Whether or not we'll simulate them. I'm most likely to bring you China out of those ones, though. But yes, until next time, I will see you then. Ta-ra.